Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. I'm your host, Mark Roxey, with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, Harold?
What's up, man? How you doing? We get to do another one. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, another one. Another one bites the dust. Boom. Boom, boom. Yeah, no, bro. I'm so happy to be with you tonight, man. It's been a crazy weekend, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And for those of you that are tuning in, whether you're tuning in on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, thank you for being with us. And just remember, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at The Boxing Breakdown. And if you'd like to watch us instead of listen to us, you can find us on YouTube and at The Boxing Breakdown. So thank you for being with us today. And we have a lot to talk about, Harold. I mean, this Boxing Breakdown episode, we are going to cover a little bit about Emanuel Navarrete. We're going to talk about Shakur Stevenson and Ryan Garcia. We will also break down Frank Martin and Nair Albright, their recent clash, which actually was a draw. And we'll also talk about Emiliano Vargas stopping Agustin Quintana, which was an absolute amazing fight, and with a lot of twists and turns toward the end of the fight. And we got a couple of other surprises for you to break down. So relax wherever you are. Enjoy the conversation here, and thank you for being with us on the Boxing Breakdown. So, Harold, let's get into this Emanuel Navarrete stopping Eduardo Nunes this past weekend.
Well, initially the fight looked good on paper, but it was over at the very beginning. Because in my mind, one fighter was starstruck by the other. Oh, I've been watching you my whole life. You're such a great fighter. I never thought I'd fight you.
Yeah.
All of that, in my opinion, right away kind of put him in, off foot. And he was fighting his idol, and it's kind of tough to do that. I remember Chris Algieri said that when he fought Shane Mosley for the first time, he couldn't believe he was actually in the ring with him.
Yeah.
And he was starstruck for a minute, but he was able to at least get into the fight. Nunez, I thought he was never really in the fight. Mentally, he was on the back foot the whole time.
Yeah.
And when he tried to fight back, it just was not effective. Against someone who was so unorthodox, straight punches didn't matter.
Well, Harold, this match, of course, was not the best showing for Eduardo Nunes. At 130 pounds, it was a title unifier, and the eye damage forced 11th round stoppage, and it was really quite a punishing fight in general. Just the whole fight was, I think Navarrete from the very, very jump had control over the fight, and really, I don't think that Nunes ever really got started, right? I don't think he ever really got started. Navarrete's 39-2-1 with 32 knockouts, and Eduardo Nunes is 31 and 28 KOs. So the guy came in with like dynamite in both hands, but just wasn't able to pull the trigger, wasn't able to ever get into his sweet spot in the fight. What did you get a chance to see the eye? Did you get a chance to see that?
Yeah, I was able to take a look at all, what happened to his eye and, what situation he was in and how he navigated it.
Yeah.
Whenever you see a fighter whose fundamentals are just kind of just marginal,
yeah,
and he's able to throw those wild wing punches from everywhere and land on someone who has good defense or whatever, it's just that he kind of willed himself into the situation.
Yeah.
So I just didn't really think that mentally he just was not there. And I've seen him fight better guys of that type of ilk, the wild guys, the unorthodox guys, and he's handled them pretty easily. But here he just was unable to do so. So he put up a fight, but when he tried to put up a fight, it was like pretty much too late.
Yeah.
And he landed some good body work. He tried to do what he does, but when you're perpetually on that back foot, uncharacteristic of your style, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. And I think that's what happened. Besides the fact that they kept bumping hands and the respect after each round was like, you can't, because there's always someone who's dominant who's not. And every time the round was over, Nunez was initiating the niceties, if you will.
Yeah.
And that is not good as well, because it mentally puts you in a position of subservient to the dominant fighter. And that's what I saw, and it's just kind of progressing to this butt whooping. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, Navarrete, 3 division world champion, he fought actually back in May, I think of last year, he fought to a no contest against Charlie Suarez, right? But in this fight,
it was a gift.
Yeah, it was. But in this fight, he literally, he was just hammering with that really weird jab. I don't even know how he gets away with the stuff he gets away with, Navarrete. But boy, he can do some pretty big damage, And Nunez, he won that IBF super featherweight title off that a unanimous decision against Mansanori Rukinishi or whatever back in May. So, he was supposed to do better. I think he was even a favorite on DraftKings and some of the betting. He was the favorite to win the fight. And Navarrete was not supposed to win, but sure enough, it's amazing. It was amazing to watch that.
Well, without the hype and what all the body language that was going on, that was pretty easy to see.
Yeah.
In my mind, I didn't think he could beat him either way, whether he was at his A game or not.
Yeah.
I just think, Nunez was just a better fighter and just had more will, and that he would win that fight. And he was bigger and stronger, and his will was, they both had the will, but I was just saying that, he had more will, and I think I saw that.
Yeah. Well, Navarrete, straight jab, landing on the eye, doing lots of damage to the eye, right hand landing, uppercut landing, everything was landing cleanly. And I literally just felt like Nunez was in quicksand. Like he literally wasn't able to get off at all. Like there wasn't, not at all. There wasn't anything significant that I was like, I think he might have won one round. I forgot what the scorecards were specifically. We probably should know that. But, it just appeared as I was watching it that there wasn't much Nunez was going to be able to do. And the 10th round, bro, Harold, was not good at all, pillar
to post. That's what they say. He was beating him from pillar to post.
He really was. And, the good news is that Nunez, will live to fight another day. I'm sure he'll have some amazing fights coming down the road. But, that night, that was Emanuel Navarrete's night. And now he goes on. You have any speculation on where he goes next?
Navarrete?
Yeah.
the sky's the limit for him. He has to just wait and see how it hashes out.
Yeah.
Who's going to call him out? His gift he got in his last fight, how that ages. That guy who was able to get away with the fight and as a win or a draw, which one it was.
Yeah.
We have to see what happens with his next fight. What kind of weight, that gift was given to him carries him. And then that's going to be enough cachet for him to get a bigger fight with someone in the same weight class and get another, pretty large payday. So they're just waiting to see how the cards fall, I would say, with the other champions in that division and go from there. But I think he's a big player. And supposedly that was the biggest fight in his life, in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very important fight in his mind because I don't think that if he loses that fight, it's a whole other conversation today on Monday. Monday quarterbacking sounds different. If he loses that fight, we've got a whole other, landscape, right? So now it'll be interesting to see where Nunes goes next. And then Harold, let's jump over to Shakur Stevenson versus Ryan Garcia. I've heard some scuttlebutt about this fight potentially happening. Any word on that? What do you think?
Okay, well, the problem is going to be the weight. The Shakur said he's not going up past 63.
Yeah.
No, I mean, 53 or 43.
Yeah.
He's not going past. No, he's not going past what? It's 53. Something. He's not going past the catch weight is going to be a catch weight. And Ryan said, there's no way I'm going to come down that low. I'm not going to go that low.
Right.
I don't care what he says. He's going to have to meet me at my number. And Stevenson said, I'm not meeting you at any number than this one.
Right.
And then, as they talked about the opportunity to fight each other and this and that and the other. So I think the sticking point is going to be the weight. And as I look more at Shakur Stevenson and notice how his discipline is so tight because of his affiliation with Bud and Floyd and all that kind of stuff, he realizes that the machoism is not wise to kind of stretch that out. So if it's not a catch weight that he needs it to be so he can be at his best, he's not going to take it because he doesn't have to do that. He has so many other opportunities. So I'm thinking, yes, it's good to talk about it, but I don't think it's going to materialize. I think Ryan's going to run around and have maybe two defenses against some mandatories and what have you. Stevenson's going to do whatever he's going to do at 47 because he got stripped, so he got to fight some bubbling under top 20 guys or what have you. So there's a lot to go on, but I don't see those two coming together.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, look, let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, those of you tuning in, Ryan Garcia is now a WBC champion. I mean, he literally just won the champion
at 147.
At 147. So he just won against Mario Barrios over 12 rounds. He won the WBC welterweight title, scoring a knockdown in the opening minute of the fight, like right in the beginning. And I think the scores I'm looking here, scores were 120 to 107, 119 to 108, 118 to 109. So it really was a one-sided fight. It
was beautiful.
It was beautiful, but to Shakur's, credit, he's not really looking to go up to 147. And so maybe that fight doesn't happen. I know they were talking back and forth to one another, but it'll be very interesting. And in fact, I remember I saw a clip of Shakur looking at Ryan Garcia and saying, you're not actually as big as I thought you were. Did you see that?
It was interesting. Yeah.
That was great. So who knows, maybe down the line, these guys, you remember when we were talking like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer, these guys were all in the same weight class. They were all, we were trying to figure out who's going to fight who and who's going to survive, who's going to be left. And here we are like 4 or 5 years later, and they're still in the landscape, except now they're playing the division swaps, so they're not actually, they're chasing each other around and kind of following one another, but not really kind of trolling, kind of not, So it'll be interesting. One day they will lock horns.
Yeah, but it has to be at the right time. I think boxing has learned they need to go ahead and make the fights they need to make, and they don't have to marinate them as much anymore because the mindset has changed. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, maybe 6 to 8 months or so. But it'll be long enough where it still can generate the interest. They'll still be in their primes, and we get some more footage of them being successful defending their belts, with some other people.
Yeah.
The old thing seems to be a thing in the past. People are okay with sacrificing or putting that thing on the line. So I think we're looking at a good situation with all those new guys in 47 who can, keep our imagination and keep us entertained.
So, Shakur Stevenson delivered a boxing masterclass to Teofimo Lopez recently, right? It was like a one-sided fight too. And now Teofimo's going up to 147. Right?
That in itself is the usual move, Mark. As you know, someone's got to take the blame. I got to either fire my coach, I got to be off a year, or I got to move up, or I got to move down. I have to, find a way to erase this loss in my mind and in my fans' mind, thinking that I'm going to move up and I was under this or that or the other happened. That's why I need to move up.
Yeah.
But he's moving up with a bunch of sharks.
Yeah.
He's moving up.
He is.
With a bunch of people. But however, his cachet is such that he can go ahead and fight one of those guys and lose.
Right.
Fight another one and lose.
Yeah.
And still get 2 huge paydays because he just has the cachet. It will carry him through 2 losses.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll carry him through a 3rd loss.
No, Harold, I agree with you. I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, I will say that, if he does go to 147, there'll be a lot of fights to be made there. There's a lot of money to be made there. So maybe that's the move. That's why he went there. And it'll just be interesting to see how that develops. But the point being that as of date of this podcast, Shakur Stevenson, just delivered a masterclass against Teofimo Lopez, and Ryan Garcia, also had a very, very good performance recently. So, I mean, the fact that
yes, they did. They both.
Yeah.
They both got themselves back out there in the eyes of the boxing fans saying, hey, this is what we want to see. We want to see that. But I don't want those two to fight right now. Not at all.
Well, at all. I'm sure they hear you, and they probably will agree with you right now. So, and certainly
Stevenson would win though. Yes, he beats them all.
You've been saying that for years, and you've been correct for years. So, Shakur is just dominating everyone he fights. And the interesting thing about him, and I think this is one of the things that kind of annoys a lot of us, diehard inside fans and players, is that he really hasn't had a test. There's no one that has even tested him yet. So, even against Teofimo Lopez, it really wasn't that crossover, when you face that guy and you get the questions that are being asked of you in the ring, and then you deliver and you cross over, and there's no question in people's minds that you're the guy, that fight hasn't happened for him yet. So, he hasn't had the Bud Crawford fight against, Canelo Alvarez that just says, wait a minute, look at the class. There you go. Right. So I'm wondering when that fight will actually happen, and who out there, at the 140, 135, 140 weight division is there to kind of give him a challenge. I just don't see it. And maybe that forces him to move up. Time will tell.
Well, he got stripped, as you know, so he could easily, I guess, be sued in by another sanctioning body at 140 to take their champion belt from them, just because he's going to generate more money than whatever the 140 pound champion is. And no disrespect, and I don't know who they are, so I'm not trying to say that, but right now he's got box office cachet. He does. And this is new for him. And we've got to see, it continue. So I'm thinking they're going to give him a Mando or some people he can actually knock out. We're going to have visuals of them being stopped or laid out or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, solidify that he is a 147 champion and this, that, and the other. He may get Brian Norman. We don't know what's going to happen, but
Right.
Either way, I believe he's going to win all of his fights as long as he's within a weight class that he can manage, because his style is just such that he's always going to beat you.
Right.
He's just going to really beat you. And we don't know if he has a chance or not because no one's gotten close enough. No one's caught him clean or anything like that, so we can even know. But
yeah,
the rumor is sparring with Bud and it's these other people, they've really cracked him, and he has stood up.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question he's been cracked. He's had, and you can see it in his pedigree inside the ring. You can see the quality of work that he's producing inside the ring against all oppositions. And Teofimo Lopez, when Teofimo shows up ready to go and he's pressing and you still do what you do and dominate that performance, it really puts even more questions in the air. How good is Shakur? How good is he? I mean, we can theorize and we can all say what we think about how good he is, but we haven't had that breakthrough performance where there's a guy that has tested him, asked himself the questions of like, can I get through this fight? New skills emerge in the fight, things that we've never seen him do show up like that. That's what Shakur needs for him to be a crossover talent, for him to make that jump.
Tank. It was speculated to be Tank to press him into greatness.
Yeah.
However, Tank is in recess right now, but the scuttlebutt that's another subject. But the scuttlebutt is all the law stuff is just, I don't want to say frivolous because it is not. But as far as boxing was concerned, we just have to see which state's going to cash in on Tank first.
Yeah.
You got the situation in Baltimore. They may say, come back, fight here, and we won't run you into jail. Or Florida may say, come back, fight here, and we'll clear up whatever you need to do. So we don't know who's going to take that opportunity to get him back in the ring, generate that money, for the state, the city, or whatever. And the powers that be in boxing, we need Tank to come back out just because he's one of the draws. So everything's going to line up for him to escape this situation he's in, or it's going to be the light, and all he has to do is fight. And just like some commentator said, if you have the talent, you get a second chance.
Yeah.
And he's got the talent and the draw, and the personality, the negative and the positive. It just snowballs into this ticket seller.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you on all of that, all fronts, So, all right, let's switch gears here a little. Let's get ourselves into third gear. We're in third gear now, folks. And for those of you that are just joining the podcast, thank you for being with us. And if you come to the podcast and you listen to the podcast regularly, don't forget to go back and take a listen to some of those old podcasts that we have out there. There's some very, very good, informative podcasts in our suite of couple of 100 podcasts, maybe even more.
Yes.
We've got a lot of podcasts.
We have over 100.
Yeah, for sure.
This is number 15, and I'm still excited. It's been a few years, so that's crazy.
Yep, year 5, baby, year 5. And with that, Harold and I will be, we've got some good news for you guys. We'll be doing a card with Hard Hitting Promotions out of Philadelphia at the Live Casino coming up pretty soon here. And we're going to be doing some commentating so you can catch the boxing breakdown on the Hard Hitting Promotion cards that are going to be coming up. So we're excited about that because Harold and I, if you don't know, we are not in the same room. We are actually in different states. So Harold is coming out of Florida right now, and I'm coming out of Philadelphia. So, we're not actually always together. And what's cool about us doing this hard hitting card and a series of hard hitting promotions cards that are coming up, we'll get to really, be together and podcast, and you guys should come out to the fights because, Hard Hitting Promotions does an amazing job. The cards are always competitive, evenly matched, and he packs it out, man. The house is always jam packed. So yeah, anyway, enough of our shameless plug. Harold, you and I, the boxing breakdown.
I get to talk stuff.
Yeah, we get to chop it up.
See, I'm kind of light right here, but when I'm commentating, I really get to really just kind of stretch out there. So
yeah,
some people say, man, you need to chill with all that, but that's just what I do. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you not being chill at the fights. I can't wait to see you not being chill. I'm oftentimes not chill at the fights, but when you come to the fights, it's going to be double not chill or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but anyway,
he has good cards and the matchmaking is good. So
yeah, they do a great job over there with the matchmaking. And so let's jump into Frank Martin. I know this. Listen, Frank Martin and Nair Albright fought to a draw after a 10-round controversy recently. And this is not brand new news, but being the boxing breakdown and having a connection to Nair Albright, I thought maybe we could just spend a little time talking about this. Frank Martin, 19-1-1, and Nair Albright, 17-2-1. They fight to a majority draw over 10 rounds at junior welterweight, with all three judges scoring the card 95-95. And the controversy really came in the final round. There was a little interruption. I'm not going to get into all the detail, but that stopped Albright's attack. That purportedly could have ended up being a stoppage of the fight, which was completely against the odds. No one thought Albright would deliver that kind of a performance. No one that doesn't know him thought he would deliver a performance like that. But yeah, it's just amazing. Albright, landed his jab, was relentless in his pursuit against Frank Martin and almost got the stoppage. It was definitely not the kind of performance I expected out of Martin, and I wonder what you thought from the fight.
Well, he was off for a whole year because it was kind of brutal how he lost the Tank, and he was totally just stopped and just brutalized. So, mentally you got to take some time off to do that or whatever.
Yeah.
And he did do that. He had a comeback fight. He looked spectacular knockout. I mean, it was knockout of the year until it was supplanted by some other fight. But he looked really good and sharp and mentally aware and what have you. So he comes into this next fight against a guy who just fought Keyshawn.
Yeah.
And, there was a little rumble. Keyshawn lost his title, and this guy was involved with it and this and that and the other. So the guy was actually a pretty good fight. Get Keyshawn a really good fight, even though he lost. So now he's coming in. He's trying to prove something. And Frank is coming off his, great return knockout, which mentally erased, his prior knockout to Tank.
Right.
However is his punch resistance has been compromised because as soon as he got hit clean, he went to the stinky leg. And you cannot, Mark, and we talked about this before, you cannot repair your punch resistance once it's been taken, once it's been altered. And he usually, because I've watched all his fights as he come up because he has no amateur background, and he was always able to take a punch to a point where he could just take that punch and continue on. So he took that same stance that he usually takes in a fight where I have to take a few, to get in. But when he got hit and it wasn't all powerful, it shook him.
Yeah.
And he was surprised himself that he was shook because he thought, I'm back to where I was. But physically, his punch resistance has been altered. It surprised him. And for the rest of the fight, he was really worried about, I thought my punch resistance was back to where it was, but it's not. Yeah. Now, he'll adjust his next fight and not put himself in situations where he get popped like that. But up until that point, he thought his punch resistance was where it was previously before the Tank fight, and it was not. And that changed the situation. Albright, of course, he had a lot to prove. He's supposed to lose. His only claim to fame that he gave Keyshawn a good fight. His knockout ratio was kind of low, and he was just known as an active live dog. All that changed once everyone knew that Martin's punch just has been compromised, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I mean, definitely, I concur, man. Like, even Martin, said that he, at the end of the fight, like, I can perform better. I'm a better fighter than what I showed. Right. And, early on in the fight, though, I thought it was a very, very competitive match early in the fight. And then as things progressed, by the time we got to the later rounds, it was really Albright who just saw those opportunities and just capitalized, not just on the opportunities in the fight, but the opportunity of having that fight. He came in hungry. He came in ready to go out on a shield if he had to. The way that he was fighting was like, I'm going for this, and he pulled off a really good, convincing draw. I don't think there was any question it was a draw, and you could have made the argument that he won it, so, hats off to Nair Albright and Godspeed to Frank Martin. Cause he's got a lot to do to get himself back in the pole position that he was in. And I have no doubt he will. He will. And, Nair Albright, this is an example, folks. When you get a guy who's got a draw, but he actually wins, right? Albright got the draw, but he actually won. He won the hearts of the fans. He won, he won the hearts of the promoters, the boxing industry, the pundits. Everybody is kind of like, cheering on Albright here, which, now we've got to step up. Albright's got to step up to the next level, right? He's got to continue to produce the kind of performance that he produced here. He set a new bar for himself, and now the hard work begins when, your name gets called out, as a major formidable opponent, that
can win.
That's what
I like. He'll get another nice payday on a major network somewhere just because of that performance. Frank Martin will adjust himself and be successful going forward. I don't see him losing anytime soon after this.
Yeah.
He just put himself in a position where usually he could prevail, but he can't. And right. I think he's wise enough to realize that I can't put myself in a position. However, I can still do everything I do and be successful and knock these guys out. I just can't do this situation.
Right.
And you could speak better to that than I could, but I just don't see him putting himself in a position to be hit like that any further because he doesn't have to. He got the defense to get away from it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. So, Harold, onward and upward for both gentlemen, and great. It was a great fight. It was a
good fight.
It was a good fight. And, yeah, for sure. I think we're going to Emiliano Vargas versus Agustin Quintana. Man, did you see that fight?
Yes. However, on our pre-pro people, Mark had a different opinion. Now, right now, he's going to toe the line and he's going to say what he needs to say for Vargas's understanding, so we can understand it. But Mark has a different little thing, so I want to see if I can pull it out of him. But yes, Mark, that was a good fight. Quintana looked good. Vargas looked as he did, and for me, I saw a few flaws that Vargas may have distributed. So, Mark, was there something that you wanted to just slightly speak on in Vargas's performance, albeit it was favorable to we really need to, take the gloves off and give us a good opinion on what you saw from Vargas.
Well, I mean, first of all, Emilio Vargas, 17-0, 14 big wins by KO, stellar record. Well, they brought him along really, really nicely. His father is one of the, formidable and well-recognized fighters and trainers of his sons. And so Fernando Vargas, speaking of him, and I mean, he basically got a stoppage against this guy, Agustin Quintana, who's 22-3-1. So he comes in with a little bit of a more blemished record. And after 9 rounds, this fight took place in Arizona. After 9 rounds, it was a very, very, very competitive fight. And I felt like, Quintana could have won that fight in the last round. And I think he was coming to kind of like deliver everything that he had in that final round, which he never really got to do. And so for me, and I'm just speaking as a fan, for me, I had questions about whether or not Vargas was going to be able to weather that storm in the final rounds. It was a very competitive match. Again, just like Nair Albright, Quintana really got my heart, man. He, the performance that he produced, the heart that he showed, the resilience and the ruggedness of this kid coming out of Argentina. I never expected that kind of performance. I thought Vargas would sleep him in inside the first 4 rounds. I never thought it would go that far. I was very impressed with Quintana. And to be honest, I would love to see him fight. I'd love to see more fights by him because he was so entertaining. It was such a fun performance. And, I saw some holes there in Vargas's, end, so that, I don't know if you pulled out what you wanted to pull out or if you're trying to go a little deeper here.
Diplomatic. You need to run for the presidency. You are so diplomatic. You know how to smooth it. I'm not smoothing nothing. The boy got hit too much.
Yeah.
He squared up. He's walking in. He thinks that he can walk through people. And Quintana, if he had a little more pop or whatever, he would change his narrative. Yeah. He got hit too much. He made too many mistakes. He's reading the headlines. I'm not hating, but he can get hit and get hurt and get rocked because he is a little too eager to live up to the clippings that have been written about him. The Super Bowl thing, all the stuff that's going on, which is great. His father looked kind of surprised that he was taking a little more punishment than usual. And you could see in the father's face when he came in to talk to him at the post interview, his father was in the background and he had this look on his face like, woo. Yeah. If Quintana had a little more seasoning or whatever, it would have been a whole different thing. So I trust there was some serious dialogue between those two because he really, in my mind, he digressed. He didn't improve to me at all. He just didn't. He didn't improve. And the next fight, he cannot distribute. He cannot show that. Right. Either matchmaker is gonna match me kind of light, or they're gonna go back with somebody of that ilk a little higher and make him improve. We don't know. If I was a promoter, matchmaker, I get somebody a little softer for the next one because he did not improve at all to me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not going to disagree with that. In terms of improving, I really can't tell you that I study Vargas like that or really follow him like that. But what I will say is that what Quintana proved is that this guy can take a beating and keep on ticking, just like a Timex, right? Take a licking and keep on ticking. This guy was pushing. And I think when he sat down at the end of the 11th round, right, as he sat down in that last round, it actually, I think it was 10, right? Sorry, not 11. Blah,
11.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but anyway, in the last round, he sits down, in the last rounds, getting ready to fire off, and he's sitting down, and they call off the fight. I could not believe that they did that to this kid. You know, he's got eggers on both sides. He's leaking out of all 4 points, and he's ready to go. And he's calm as a whistle, and he's sitting there. You know, the whole team is doing their job, and you know, the judge just waves it off, and Quintana jumps out of his seat and freaks out like, "Are you kidding me?" So I was very disappointed at the stoppage. I thought it was a premature stoppage. Yes. Was he cut? Yes. Were the cuts under control? Yes. Was he able to see out of both eyes? Yes. Did they need to stop that fight? No. Question is, Harold, why did they stop that fight? Why?
Politically,
Yeah.
there's two things of thoughts. I'm not subscribing to either one. I'm just going to trot them out. Politically, Vargas needed a knockout to continue the optics. Number two, Vargas was getting hit, and yes, he was winning, and yes, he was getting his command over each round.
Yeah.
But he was still getting hit clean, man. It was
Yeah.
clean. He was getting hit.
Yeah.
Not enough, but he was getting hit. So right now, you know, a lot of my friends are referees, and the thing is now is we want to be able to stop these things earlier. You know, we don't want anything to go too far anymore. So
Right.
you have a kind of a sense of that, which is, you know, can either cause a premature stoppage or not. I don't know. But from what I could gather, Mark, I agree with you. I think he could have fought one more round, and they took it from him. But it looked good for the Vargas brand. It really did. He stopped him. It was a controversial type, you know, fight. He hit a lot, but he got to get the visual of him. You know, his record looks good. But Quintana got to sit, 3 months, a knockout loss?
Yeah.
That's not cool, man.
Right.
And, you know, that's just how states do it. But
Yeah.
if it was a decision or whatever, he could have fought next month because he looked really good. And promoters like, yeah, when you heal up, you come right back out because you look really good against, you know, someone who's supposed to be, you know, a draw. So politically, it had to be that way. The other way, a fight way, I think, you know, Vargas didn't need to look any worse than he was looking.
Right. No, I get that. I really get that. And you know what? As I said, it was a great performance. I'm more interested in seeing Quintana fight again. And for me, that's where it's at. You know, I thought he did a great job. And hats off to both of them. You know, Vargas comes away with a win. Vargas is on to the next thing, and hopefully somebody will bring Quintana back so we can see him again. I think he's definitely proven that he belongs at that level, and it'll be really great to see what he does next. And with that being said, let's move on, Harold. I want to talk about one more thing before we end the broadcast tonight. And I also want to thank you fans for tuning in, and thank you for being with us on the Boxing Breakdown. Don't forget to follow us, hit the like and subscribe notifications on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at The Boxing Breakdown. And if you want to listen to the podcast here and there as you're driving around, please do not forget to hit us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's right. And thank you for being with us. Our last topic is going to be Lorenzo Parra achieving a KO victory over Elijah Pierce at the Turning Stone Resort in New York City, or New York State, rather. Were you able to catch that fight, Harold?
Yes, watched that fight. But, you know, there was a cut man on one of the fighters, and he looked very similar to you. I mean, something about his head and the way he carried himself. This guy just looks like it was you. You know, I don't know for sure. I'm just speculating, but the fight itself, it was a good fight.
Oh, wait, you're talking. I mean, wait, hold on, time, because you're talking about the fight that we just did in Texas. You're talking about Grimaldi Machuca versus Edwin Vazquez. You're talking about that fight. Yeah, that fight.
We're talking about Paro and.
Yeah, we're talking about Lorenzo Paro against Elijah Pierce, upstate New York.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
from Georgia. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know Pierce, and Pierce's last fight, it was questionable. But this is a fight where he lost, and he lost because he was a southpaw. Yeah. And most southpaws, when you get in a ring with somebody, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
A southpaw has an advantage over a right-handed fighter because, a lot of them don't have that kind of work all the time. But this is the first time I saw a southpaw fighter not take advantage of being a southpaw. Yeah. He didn't do anything southpaws do to right-handed fighters for advantage.
Wow.
He just walked right into the man's power. He didn't step on the outside of that. He kept squaring up. He just was like, okay, if you're a left-handed fighter, you need to take advantage of that. And that advantage he did not use. And that is why he had the issue he had that time, because he just didn't take advantage of his stance at all. And he squared up so much coming in and coming out. He was bound to get hit. There was levels to that thing, and it was evident early. For me. So I'm not trying to go in on Pearson like that, but I just saw such a disparity in a style and attention to detail, and the fact that he didn't use his advantage of being a southpaw from the jump. And I was like, oh, this is already seen.
Well, Paro wins a minor featherweight belt. He's got a belt here, nevertheless. And for him, he's in the 126-pound picture. He put himself in the picture. What comes next could be spectacular for Para. And as far as Elijah Pierce is concerned, he suffers a second round knockout, and that knockout came at 1 minute and 44 seconds. In the corner, trapped in the corner, he got stopped. And I know Pierce, and my heart goes out to him because I know he really was looking to win the fight. And I know that he's got a lot more fight in him. There's a lot that he's going to be able to do. Para 24, 1-1, 18 KOs. He comes into the ring. I don't know if you guys know this, but Para just lost his father. Did you know that, Harold?
No, I did not.
He just lost his father. So you're coming in, you got this aggression, you got this, this is like I'm not going to say a Buster Douglas moment, but in many respects, there's a parallel to what happened to Buster Douglas. You never know what's in a man's heart, and he's coming into the ring to really, really hurt you. He's got the wind at his back, and he's got nothing to lose. And, sure enough, he's able to pull off an upset, really what would be considered an upset, because, again, on the sport betting apps, no one had him winning that fight. They had Pierce ahead as a large, by a large spread. So Para was able to adjust. He saw the openings. And I think what started off the knockout was a left hook, a nice clean left hook. And boy, he got touched with that left hook. And, he was just not able to really recover after that shot. And he was hit with a barrage of, 4 or 5 other punches that came behind that. And I also want to just comment on the fact that he fell, and as he was falling, the referee kind of got into it and almost stopped him from trying to get back up, which I wonder if he was going to be able to get back up to continue the fight. And so there was some intervention there that may have not been appropriate, in maybe, Pierce was going to be able to survive that. What are your thoughts about that?
I would like to say the sequence of punches that knocked him out, that separated him from his senses in that corner there, they were very substantial, and he was out. So whether he fell over the referee was involved, whatever, it was after the fact. He was out. He was out. So when that happened, he fell over the referee and this and that. He wasn't because if you look at their sequence, and you could see that he was hit cleanly, that separated. Then he got hit twice more cleanly. Then one missed, and then another one further separated him where he had no faculties or whatever. Yeah. And then he jumped in and stopped it, and then he got up and fell all over the ref, but he wasn't walking regardless. So regardless, that's the word. So
all I'm saying,
I don't see any.
All I'm saying is that foul. There was some, almost like a push, like a pressing of down onto the floor when he was literally trying to get up by the count. And so I don't know, maybe the team goes back and tries to get a rematch, or, I know that there was some discussion of, a rematch. And I understand that Parra said he would give a rematch to Pierce, and that would be good, because there's some unanswered questions there about whether or not he would be able to, whether or not that was
But Pierce doesn't beat him. Pierce doesn't beat him. He squared up too much, unless he changes his style drastically.
Right.
And he shows some discipline. He won't beat him again because he's squaring up in front of this guy. And he's like I said earlier, he just didn't use his advantage of being a southpaw. I didn't, and I don't know. And when he got hit, he was in the middle trying to. He was squared up when he got hit.
Yeah,
they were in exchange. They were stepping around each other. He was all squared up when he got hit.
I get that. I that's all I'm saying is that it's not the end of Elijah Pierce. I can tell you that he was ranked coming into that fight. He was ranked number 2 by the WBA and the WBO. Which, by the way, you're sporting a nice, beautiful WBA hat. Shout out to the WBA.
They gave me a fight. Thank you so much. I want to give them. They gave me a fight. Thank you so much for the opportunity and thank you.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he was ranked number 2 coming into the fight at welterweight, and basically, that's a big advantage here for Parra, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next and where he goes from here. But I commend both fighters for taking the fight. Pierce was certainly, that was a title eliminator for him. That would have given him a title shot. And so where he goes from here is yet to be determined, but I'm sure he will come back and he will be able to do great things. And Parra will also advance and hopefully get himself a title fight here in the very near future. And I just wanted to touch on that. We can close out the podcast now. I know you wanted to touch on the Machuca versus
yes, I'm sorry, fans, I'm sorry I got excited. I mixed them up, but they were very similar in the way they began and they ended. I mean, you had the same elements in the winner and the loser in both of these fights, and I watch fights so much, but the point is they were very similar in the way that they progressed. They're both exciting fights. The one we're going to speak of now, that's when Mark was involved with, and it was just a really good fight. It was on Pro Box, and I really enjoyed it. It kept my attention. And I watch boxing, 24 hours a day, and that actually had me looking at what was going on there. And I didn't really see Mark until the end, but the point was it was really a good fight.
Well, thank you, Harold. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I think it was, hats off to the winner. Edwin Vazquez did an absolutely outstanding job in the fight. He was well prepared for the fight. He came in blazing his punches. He had lots of pop on his punches. His legs were working, and he fought, an amazing fight and really one-sided fight. I think, Machuca was just a little bit outgunned in the fight and just didn't have what was necessary that night to pull off a victory against Edwin Vazquez. But as you say, they both came in there looking
Each
to
round
win.
was nice to watch. It really was. Each round was nice.
Yeah,
it was a good. It was good. It was survival.
Yeah, it was. It was a long trip. I'm happy to be home, and hats off to both guys, and upward and onward for Edwin Vazquez. It looks like he's going to get a hopefully he puts himself in a position to get a nice title shot somewhere down the line. He's certainly in the mix for that. He produced a great show, and hats off to Machuca. That's my guy. He did a great job and just was outgunned and was not quite as prepared for what was about to happen in that fight on that night. And that's how it goes. It's boxing. And this is the Boxing Breakdown. And on behalf of Harold Hunt, I'm Mark Roxey. I want to thank you for being with us tonight on this broadcast. And God bless you all. And we hope to see you all very, very soon on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Peace and love.
Boxing Breakdown.
We are out.
See ya.
See ya, Harold.